Hi, everybody. Today we're joined by Tim Sisson, who's a WordPress developer, WordCamp speaker, and who heads a team that works with WordPress at InMotion Hosting. Tim, how's it going?
Hey, good actually. Yeah. So, yeah, I've been with InMotion now for about 3 years. I'll give you a little bit about my background. When I started with InMotion, I started in tech support. So it was answering hosted related questions, some WordPress related questions, a lot of email questions, things like that. So over the years, my background was actually in marketing and in SEO and SEM, and it kind of led me into the job here at InMotion, and then it kind of grew out of that. From there, I became a document writer where I was testing out all of these different softwares, a lot of e-commerce stuff, a lot of WordPress stuff. And then which led me into the job that I'm in now, where I manage a team that does that. So it's really cool. It's afforded me the opportunity to learn a lot about WordPress, get involved with the community, which is awesome. The WordPress community in general is like no other I've ever seen. So I've been really grateful for that opportunity, and it's really just given me a unique skill set with WordPress. So. I'm stoked to be in the position I am. So.
Yeah. So talk us a bit through your exposure to WordPress. It sounds like it was in the context of a marketing job. Is that right? Or in the context of your work at InMotion?
Yeah. So my first really run-in with WordPress was actually with an engineering company. They had a WordPress site, and this was a number of years ago. I was their internet marketing manager, and that's kind of where I was introduced to it. In its infancy. So I kind of knew my way around it a little bit as a user, but not really from a development angle or really from a high-level aspect. After I left the engineering company and came to InMotion full-time, then it was a different story, because we work with clients that have WordPress sites a lot. So I kind of dove headfirst into it and did a lot more with it here, learning the ins and outs, the nuances of it, things like that. What it was really good for, some pain points, things like that.
Let's talk about the pain points.
Well, WordPress can't be everything to everybody at times. So it's grown a lot over the years, and that's actually really cool to see how it's kind of morphed into what it is today. But it has changed a lot. So, in its infancy, would I have used it to build an e-commerce site? Probably not. That's what it really wasn't designed for at the moment. But on the other side of it, in today's market, things like WooCommerce and stuff have kind of help those pain points along a little bit. So, but overall, for the most part, especially for most of our clients, there are very few instances where WordPress can't fit or meet the needs of our customers. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah. Is there anything difficult that jumps out to your mind about hosting a whole bunch of WordPress sites? Is that sort of an interesting challenge in any way, or is it just kind of
yeah? So with anything, with any content management system, the delivery of it from that aspect is always challenging. So when it comes down to it, speed is everything. When you're from e-commerce, the speed of the page determines your conversion rates. Same thing. If the page isn't loading, people don't want to stay on the page. So, that's something that we have to deal with on our side. And we have a great team for that. We've actually got a team here called Managed Hosting, where they'll actually dig a little more deeper into your site and what you need out of it and figure out the solution for you. So, for us, having different verticals and different products to help customers, we certainly don't need to start a small business out on like a VPS or even a dedicated server. but as your business grows, so should your hosting and so should your infrastructure. And then there's some clients that come in, they move from another host where they have a very complex site. So they're looking for a solution that maybe isn't typical. And that's where our guys can really dive into it and say, okay, what's important to you? How can we use or best utilize the resources on the server? One thing that we've done with my team lately is look at it's a web server called Nginx, and cPanel specifically is what we use for hosting, which is Apache based. But there's a plugin actually for cPanel called CP Nginx that allows you to kind of drop that in, and it lets you use Nginx in front as a proxy server. Anything that isn't cached within Nginx itself then is passed on to Apache. So the cool thing is, typically if you move a site from Apache to Nginx, you lose your htaccess file. You've got all these things to deal with, which isn't fun. And then learning how Nginx works in itself can be a pain.
Right.
But this plugin with cPanel is actually really nice because then it allows you to kind of use it in conjunction with Apache. So you don't have to change your rewrites. You don't have to do anything like that. It works straight out of the box. We've done some testing with a couple different content management systems to see how it delivers and what we could get out of it. So that's one thing we've kind of been playing around with to see how we can maximize what our customers are getting out of our products.
Right.
So, obviously that doesn't work in a shared environment. That's a VPS kind of thing. But initially, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a kind of great learning curve for me and my team to kind of dive into Nginx itself. So.
Is that just using Nginx as like the front cache in the same way that you might use Varnish, say, where every request falls through until it knows it has it and then it delivers on it?
Yeah, so it's a lot like you would use a Varnish caching system.
Okay.
And, typically for big box things, you may use Nginx to serve the pages and then put Varnish in front of it, which is a really streamlined, optimized web server, if you will. However, setting that up can be a real pain. Even from my own experience in the e-commerce world dealing with that, it took a lot of time, and there was a bit of a learning curve even for me. So for us, it's really finding what meets the needs of the customer, and that's what's cool is the managed hosting team is familiar with that. They set up Nginx and Varnish, and they understand how the processes work through that. So, but it's been neat to kind of see that and see how we can use that. So,
maybe you could talk just a bit about your team and what you do, because
sure.
It sounds like you're sort of more in a management role.
I am. So I've got 5 guys on my team that are experts in their own subject matter. So we've got guys that are really comfortable with WordPress, that are comfortable developing in WordPress. We've got people that are comfortable in other CMSs and other e-commerce solutions. So the idea is that we have a support center on InMotion that you can go to and utilize. So they write all the content for that. They write all the articles. If there's news or something, if they need to explain about a security update, they do all of that as well. So it's a lot of writing and documentation. On the other end of it, they have to test everything as well. So, when they're writing about, a WordPress caching plugin, they have to learn everything they possibly can about that caching plugin to write it and tell you how to use it. So that's something that they do regular. It's good for us because it's great new content to have up on our website. On the other side of it, we have a questions and answers section, which they monitor. So we're East Coast based. Our guys monitor it from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night. If a question comes in, they have 30 minutes to answer it. So it's pretty unheard of that you can post a question about WordPress or anything else, hosting in general, and get an answer within 30 minutes. So that's really, really cool. It's also cool that, personally, we don't care if you're a customer or not when we do that. So as long as you create a login for the site and you've got a question, we're going to try to help you out. Now, obviously, it helps if you're a customer because we don't want you posting your stuff in a public forum. But if you're a customer, we can actually go into your account and dig a little bit further for you. But the idea is to generally, just help people out. So, my guys do that. They all have their own unique abilities. So some of the guys build themes and they develop plugins, and do a lot of JavaScript coding, things like that. Other guys are more on the business side of things, so they're very comfortable in the world of, email marketing, stuff like that. So it all comes in handy when we're helping customers, because you'd be surprised at some of the questions you get, having a support center like that. So, sometimes it's about marketing, sometimes it's about business. We kind of got to put whatever hat on at the time and be that.
Oh, that's great. It's funny that people ask like a business question at the support line in their hosting company. Oh, I've got my e-commerce site up. How do I get customers? I'm selling bottle caps.
So we hear a lot of that. We hear a lot about sales funnels, stuff like that. And explaining that to customers. Are explaining how to figure out whether free shipping works for you. There's a lot of business decisions that people just don't think about. They have a great product and they go, you know what, I want to sell my product because it's an awesome product. I want to make lots of money. And then they don't think about how much work goes into running an e-commerce business. So, things like that are really cool because, our guys have experience with that. That was where my background was in, running e-commerce sites. So, understanding those nuances and complexities about shipping and logistics or promo codes and how those work, or, even what PCI compliance is. A lot of people don't understand what PCI compliance is, why it's important, and do they have to be PCI compliant. So, being able to offer that to people and say, hey, look, this is what PCI compliance is, this is why you need it, this is why it's important, and we can help you out with that. We can walk you through that process and tell you what to say and where to say it so we can get you through that and make it easier on you.
So what seems to be the road into working at InMotion or a hosting company for somebody who's maybe like a WordPress? I mean, do people come from like a freelancing background? It sounded like people kind of come from all over the place. Yeah.
So, we've got some guys here that, the entry level for most people at the company is through support. They start as a tier 1 support rep, where they're fixing everything from email to hosting to, kind of getting their feet wet with WordPress and other things like that. But that tends to be where you start out. It's also where you learn the ropes. It's where you kind of learn the business, the ins and outs. Because what we learned over time is, WordPress developers are great. They're awesome, but they're not server architects. They don't understand how servers work, or so it's just with any field. People kind of focus on what they love, and there's a bigger picture. So support, because they have to be so well-rounded, they have a chance to learn that and learn, kind of all the aspects of what it means to manage a website. So they usually start. Most everybody in the company started in support, and then we've kind of worked your way up from there. Based on what you love. So if the technical side of things is what if that's what you love, then you go into being a tier 2, and then moving up to the systems admin roles, things like that. So there's always opportunity there. But for the most part, we've got a pipeline program here. So if you know a little bit, we can put you in the pipeline program, kind of get your knowledge base up to where it needs to be, and then kind of get you in the door and get you taking contacts and doing support work. And then from there, it's kind of endless because, we've got a design department, we've got a development department, we've got systems admins. So, once you get in the door and you start kind of learning what you want to learn and what interests you, then your career path kind of travels along those lines. So
that's really interesting. Like, how does working in the environment you just described? Sorry, I'm turning back a bit. How does that compare to your earlier? Maybe just in your experience, it sounds like you were doing. Were you building e-commerce sites or running them?
Both. So, I worked for one particular company where we had a lot of subsets of what we sold, so it wasn't just one site, it was one site per industry kind of thing. So managing all of that and kind of building new ones when they needed it, and then rolling that out, and then changing the architecture, because as you start adding on sites, you become this like multi-store cluster of e-commerce. Your server needs change, and you go from, oh, I can run everything onto a VPS to maybe I should be thinking about a dedicated server or a two-server architecture kind of setup. So that was kind of where my background came in. I can tell you it's different here, obviously, but I love people, and I truly love WordPress. So, for me, someone who loves to learn, I get to spend a lot of my time learning about things that I love in a community that's been really good to me. So, it's a win-win for me. I look back on it and I go, it's not a traditional job. I get to manage people. I have a great team. And, I get to learn what I love. What more could you ask for out of a job, So
That's cool. I want to run an image by you and just like a metaphor and see if it's actually true. Like, I have this idea that, sort of based on my experience, that being a WordPress freelancer is sort of being like a gold prospector in like Colorado in the mid-19th century. You're like way out there in the wilderness, and you hear wolves howling at night and everything, and you're like panning for gold, and sometimes you find gold and stuff. And I feel like, getting into a system like you're in would be, would be like moving back to the East Coast and like living in a big city like Philadelphia or something like that. Like, it kind of feels like, like you said, I mean, obviously there's positives and negatives to anything, and
right.
It's fun to, like, as a freelancer, it's fun to kind of make your own destiny and stuff like that. But it feels like it could kind of feel like coming in from the wilderness a little bit. Does that?
Yeah, no.
Don't
absolutely.
let me like force stupid metaphors on you, but is that accurate?
No. So absolutely. So, and it works both ways. So, I've seen guys that come here and they love what they do, but the freelance side is really for them. So, it affords them the opportunity at some point to kind of take that leap into the wilderness. On the other end, it's a great way to come in and kind of flex your skills and keep your skills up to date, doing the work. And, then my guys go home and build a plugin, at night, or work on themes, or, work on some conceptual website that they've been working on for, freelance projects. So that's the cool thing is, it works both ways. I've seen people do it both. For me, I like the structured environment. I've got 3 girls at home, so, like the whole working from home thing just never works for me. I've got to come into the office, got to see a computer and a desk. I've got to be able to do that, because if not, my kids will, I'll never get anything done. So, but, I've got friends that work amazing.
I have a dog who's doing the same thing to me, and she's just one person. She's not even a human, but she's still really she's still hurting me, productivity-wise.
Yeah, so, for some of us, I'm the guy that when it's like, hey, you can work from home, I'm like, nah, I'm going to come in for a little bit, get what I need to get done, and I work well with that. But, like I said, I've got tons of friends that are remote, and they love it, and that works for them. So, that's the cool thing is, like, hosting is it's a unique business, because you get the customer service end, obviously, with the customers. You get the technical end. But then we get to be involved in communities as well. So, it's kind of the neat part of the business is, I can spend my time in the WordPress community, and I can spend my time around the technology that drives WordPress. And then I can still help people, and at the end of the day, feel good, like I made a difference. So.
I was going to ask you. We were at WordCamp Miami. David spoke. We're actually both. I think we just realized that we're both wearing Miami shirts, which is not some sort of like corny
I should have
thing to
known.
impress you. It just
mine on.
right. But I think we missed your talk, but it was on basically using WordPress in a sort of a nonprofit setting, right?
Yeah.
And as I was just kind of reading up on you, it seems like that's something that you're pretty big on. Could you just talk a bit about that? Just
Absolutely. So I'm passionate about giving back. It's a big part of who I am. So for me, being the nerd of the group of friends that I've kind of got over the years and the network that I've built, I was approached about a year and a half ago from some friends that wanted to start a charity. They wanted to be completely volunteer, but they needed a nerd to kind of get a website spun up and kind of meet the needs of it. So for me, I was like, that's really awesome because I could use the skills that I've built to help this charity out that I believe in. And so I built a WordPress site for them, and we kind of crossed a lot of bridges over the last 18 months of how to do certain things. And when I sat down and I said, you know what, I want to start speaking at WordCamps. What do I know about WordPress? I know about code and sure, but I know a lot about what it takes to run a nonprofit from a WordPress perspective and what it can do for you. I said, you know what, maybe I can help the next guy not have to go through the trials and errors that we did. And that would be really cool and beneficial. So if one person walked away with something from hearing me ramble for 30 to 45 minutes at a time, that's really awesome. And so that's kind of where the idea came out of is, we had this charity called the Special Operations Care Fund, and it was basically raising money for the families of killed soldiers or soldiers that were wounded, just things like that where we could make a difference. And have a good time while we did it. So, we do things like, hey, let's race go-karts and eat barbecue, and all the money that we raised is going to go to a charity like the Navy SEAL Foundation or something. So, it's cool. We get to, hang out and do crazy guy things like race go-karts and other stuff like that, and all for a good cause. So, we learned a lot of stuff through that because that's a unique model. People give you like these one-off gifts for the charity that then you have to raffle off or auction. So, how do you build an eBay site for out of WordPress? Or, how do I sell merch online through my website? Because, that's the smart thing to do. Or, how do I sell tickets to events? That was one of the biggest things that we've done is, hey, we want to sell all of our tickets online because we're going to have this cool dinner where people are going to pay $250 to eat this Wagyu beef steak and hear this CIA operative tell stories for an hour. So like really cool kind of format, but we want to sell tickets to that because I'm a nerd and I'm like, I don't want to have to check people off on a, sell tickets at the door or something. I'm not the money man. I don't want to do that. So, we use this ticketing system to do that. We're trying to be smarter and work easier on ourselves. So, we learned some cool lessons about that, and I've really been thankful because I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect to do the talk as much as I have. I was like, oh, this is it's cool to me. It's nonprofits. I'm stoked about it. But it really kind of took off, and I've really been lucky to speak about it as much as I have. So, and I've got one coming up. I think I've in Baltimore in September. So, again, I really feel lucky that I've been afforded the opportunities that I have through it. So
that's really cool, Tim. Well, maybe you could just tell us a bit about InMotion for WordPress site owners. Just
Okay.
sort of,
Yeah.
as you know, we're kind of you'll be preaching to the choir a little bit, but
Sure.
we'd love to hear it for the folks who are listening.
Yeah. So this is what I can tell you. We host everything from individual sites, small, medium businesses. We have hosting to really meet any WordPress user or developer's needs, whether it be the shared business class hosting or VPS hosting, dedicated hosting, commercial class hosting for those customers that have an optimized, streamlined WooCommerce site that's doing $8 million a year in revenue, onto reseller hosting. So even for WordPress developers that build sites for customers, we've really got a great plan for that. So you can be a reseller and sell hosting to your customers and then monetize that for your business. The other thing that we do is we have a great affiliates program as well. So Jason runs the affiliates program here, and it really gives even developers and designers the opportunity to monetize that without having to worry about all the transactional stuff on a monthly basis. So what we saw from that end was, I would love to sell hosting, but I don't want to have to deal with payment processing and all the upkeep behind it. So, we've got a great affiliate program for designers and developers and people like that as well. But the mainstay is really our support. And, across the board, hosting, everybody kind of has a similar product, if you will. Every product has their ups and downs. I like to believe that our differentiator as a hosting company is our support. I get to work closely with the support staff every day and see that, and it really is, it's 24/7, 365. Where else can you get support Christmas Day, by email, phone, and chat? And we really want to help you. We generally want to help you. And that goes all the way down to the application. So support there is based, on the server side of things, but then my team comes in to step in and try to answer your application-based questions. So, support says, hey, that's not really hosting related. You need to seek out a developer or post to the support center, and then my guys come in and do that. And that's really the differentiator that we've seen, within the hosting world, because nobody ever wants to dig through somebody else's code. Just my crazy guys. So, that's really cool to be a part of that, and that's really awesome to see that we can offer that to our customers.
That's really, Tim, it's sounding like you guys really just, it sounds like you guys field pretty much any kind of question that comes your way, which, as I think about it, is kind of unusual. Wouldn't it be easier to be well, I don't know how to get you customers for your e-commerce site. InMotion is a hosting company. Do you ever get to that point with folks?
You know what? No. The long short of it is no. We've got some people that post 1 to 2 questions every day in the support center, and we kind of feel like we've kind of been through the designer developer role that whole time, kind of with them, creating and helping them kind of formulate their online presence. So for us, the easy answer would be, we're a hosting company. We're not going to tell you how to set up and run your e-commerce business. The hard answer is, we want to help you do that because we believe that our success is rooted in theirs. So, if they're successful, they're going to remember that, and as they grow, so will their hosting infrastructure, and we can be a part of that. So that's really awesome for us that we can do those kind of things and answer those sometimes what seems to be silly questions, but with real answers.
That's really interesting. Tim, anything else you'd like to say to the world? People who read WP.
I can tell you, you know, if you need help, don't be shy. Visit our support center. We're here to help you, whether you're a customer or not. We want to thrill you. So.
That's so cool. Okay, Tim. Well, look, it's really great to talk to you, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Absolutely. I'm glad I could. Thanks a lot, guys.
Really a pleasure to talk to you. Hopefully we'll see you at a WordCamp sometime soon.
Sure, sure. What's on your calendar soon?
We think, well, we're going to LA. We recently did Miami and Denver. That might be it for the rest of the year. Yeah. What about you?
We got WordCamp Hampton Roads coming up here soon. It's a one-day camp. It's the inaugural one. We'd sure love to have you.
Where is Hampton Roads? I'm going to sound like an idiot, but.
So Hampton Roads is a region.
Okay.
It's kind of the 7 cities locally here: Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Hampton, Suffolk. So it's a regional area, but think Southeast Virginia. It's actually, the WordCamp is going to be at the oceanfront here, probably 5 minutes from the InMotion offices, 10 minutes from the oceanfront, you know, from the beach actually. So it should be a good time in October.
Cool. Okay, yeah, I'll try to link to that in the show notes.
Cool. Awesome.
Great to talk to you, Tim.
Thanks. Take care.
All right.